4 million years. That is the age of our story. A story older than any civilization, older than any myth, older than every word ever spoken. To understand humanity, we must walk back through time to our earliest beginnings, when our ancestors first rose from the grasslands of Africa. Imagine the East African Rift Valley 4 million years ago, a vast, sun-soaked landscape of sweeping savannas and distant volcanic peaks. Herds of ancient animals move across the plains, while predators lurk at the edges of every shadow. And into this world steps a small creature, neither fully ape nor fully human. This is Australopithecus afarensis, one of our earliest known ancestors. They stand upright. That simple act, walking on 2 legs, changed everything. Their hands were free now, no longer needed for movement. Free to grasp, free to carry, free to shape. Bipedalism was the spark that set our evolutionary journey into motion. It allowed them to see farther across the plains, to travel greater distances, and to survive in an environment that demanded constant adaptation. Life was harsh for them. They were prey more often than predators. A rustle in the grass could mean danger. A distant roar could mean the sudden need to flee. Yet even in this struggle, something profoundly human began to form: cooperation. They relied on one another. They moved together, foraged together, protected their young together. The earliest roots of community, our species' greatest survival tool, were already growing. As time passed, the climate shifted. The forests shrank and the grasslands expanded. Food sources changed. Habitats changed. And with these changes came pressure. Pressure that forced evolution to respond. Around 3.5 million years ago, we see the first faint signs of something new: primitive cut marks on animal bones. These marks suggest that our ancestors, long before any human species existed, were beginning to take advantage of meat left behind by predators. They were becoming opportunists, observers, learners. Then comes a pivotal moment. 2.5 million years ago, a new kind of creature emerges: Homo habilis, the handyman. With this species, the human lineage takes a dramatic step forward. Their brains are larger, their curiosity deeper, and in their hands lies a world-changing invention: the first deliberately crafted stone tools. A stone is lifted, one strike, then another. A sharp flake breaks off. The world's first technology is born. These tools allow them to carve meat from bone with precision. They grant access to calories rich in protein and fat, fuel for a growing brain. Children watch the adults shape stones, learning through observation. For the first time, knowledge begins to pass through generations. The earliest form of culture emerges. With tools, Homo habilis becomes far more than a scavenger. They are innovators, thinkers, problem solvers. Their minds widen, their bodies adapt, and the spark of humanity burns brighter. But evolution never stops, and soon a new species will rise, taller, stronger, faster, ready to push beyond Africa and claim the world. 2 million years ago, the world belonged to a new kind of human, a species powerful, resilient, and built for endurance. This was Homo erectus, the upright human. They were taller than their predecessors, with long legs and a strong, athletic build. Their brains were nearly twice the size of earlier species, and their presence marked a turning point in human evolution. Homo erectus did something no ancestor had done before. They conquered distance. They were the first explorers of the human lineage. Driven by curiosity, climate shifts, hunger, or perhaps a restless instinct, they expanded far beyond Africa. They crossed the Middle East, ventured into Asia, and spread through vast continents. Wherever they traveled, they adapted. They learned the seasons of unfamiliar lands, the behaviors of new animals, and the challenges of new environments. They became the first global wanderers. With them came another great leap, the mastery of fire. Whether discovered through lightning strikes or volcanic heat, fire became a tool that transformed their lives. It offered warmth during cold nights. It protected them from predators. It allowed them to cook food, making it safer, softer, and easier to digest. Cooked meat delivered more energy, which fed their growing brains. Firelight extended their days, giving them time to share food, time to learn, and perhaps time to tell the first flickers of stories. Imagine a small band of Homo erectus gathered around a crackling flame. Shadows dance on their faces. Sparks rise into the night sky. For the first time in history, humans control a piece of the sun. And with that light came a deeper sense of connection, of belonging to something greater than survival alone. This species also refined the art of tool-making. Their hand axes, known as Acheulean tools, were sharper, more symmetrical, and more versatile than anything made before. These tools reflect planning and patience, traits that carry the unmistakable signature of an expanding human mind. But while Homo erectus thrived, the world around them continued to change. Ice ages came and went. Landscapes shifted. Some populations adapted and endured, while others faded into extinction. Yet the legacy of Homo erectus lived on through the species they would eventually give rise to. Hundreds of thousands of years passed, and new branches of humanity appeared across the world. Among them were the Denisovans of Asia, a mysterious people known to us mainly through fragments of DNA. Their genetic fingerprints survive today in the populations of the Pacific and Southeast Asia. They were robust, resourceful, and deeply connected to their environments. In Europe, another lineage emerged, the Neanderthals. Shorter but powerfully built, they were experts of cold climates, skilled hunters, and creators of art and ritual. They formed deep bonds with their groups and cared for their sick and elderly. Their minds were complex, far more human than once believed. These were not simple cavemen. They were another form of humanity. But even as these diverse species thrived, evolution was preparing yet another step. A new kind of human was forming in Africa, one destined to transform the planet forever. The rise of Homo sapiens was near. 200,000 years ago, in the heart of Africa, a new species emerged, one that carried within it the capacity for imagination, innovation, and destiny. These were Homo sapiens, anatomically modern humans. Our species. Us. At first glance, they did not seem dramatically different from other human species alive at the time. But inside their skulls, evolution had crafted something unprecedented. A brain capable of symbolic thought, of language, of creativity. The human mind, as we know it today, was awakening. In small groups, they roamed the savannas, much like their ancestors before them. Yet something subtle set them apart, the ability to envision what did not yet exist. They created more advanced tools, shaped from stone, bone, and later antler. They formed complex social networks, and most importantly, they communicated with a sophistication never seen before. Through language, knowledge could spread with unparalleled speed. A new hunting technique, a safer route to water, a warning about predators, a story explaining the stars. Every word carried power, weaving individuals into a unified whole. Around 70,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened. Perhaps a shift in climate, perhaps an explosion of creativity inside the human mind. Whatever the cause, Homo sapiens began expanding out of Africa with remarkable speed. They followed coastlines, navigated river valleys, and pushed into new territories across the Middle East, Asia, and eventually Europe. As they spread, they encountered other human species, including the Neanderthals and Denisovans. These meetings were not always violent. There was conflict at times, but also cooperation, trade, and even love. Interbreeding occurred, leaving traces of Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA in modern humans today. These ancient unions helped shape our immune systems, our biology, and our history. Wherever Homo sapiens traveled, they adapted. They learned to survive the ice and cold of Europe, the mountains of Central Asia, the jungles of Southeast Asia, and the deserts of Australia. Each migration refined their skills, honed their intelligence, and expanded their cultural traditions. It was during this period that art blossomed. Deep within caves, humans painted symbols, animals, and scenes of life. On stone walls flickered the first sparks of imagination, proof that humans were not only surviving, but expressing. They carved small figurines, they created jewelry, they painted with ochre. These acts reflected a profound inner world, one filled with meaning and emotion. Spirituality also emerged. Humans began to bury their dead with care, placing objects beside them, tools, pigments, ornaments, as if preparing them for another journey. This suggests belief, hope, and the beginnings of ritual. For the first time, humans contemplated not just life, but the mystery of death. By 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had become the dominant human species on Earth. The Neanderthals, though capable and intelligent, slowly faded. Climate shifts, competition for resources, and small population sizes all contributed to their disappearance. Yet their legacy endures within us. Meanwhile, humans continued exploring. They crossed into Siberia, braved the frozen land bridge into the Americas, and ventured to islands thousands of miles across open ocean. Curiosity drove them. Adaptation empowered them, and cooperation ensured their survival. But the greatest transformation of all, the moment that would reshape the destiny of every human being, was still to come. 12,000 years ago, Earth began to warm. The long ice age receded. Glaciers melted, rivers swelled, and vast landscapes transformed. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans had lived as nomads, hunters, gatherers, travelers following the rhythms of nature. But as the world changed, a monumental shift began, one that would redefine the human experience forever. This transformation was the birth of agriculture. In the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, people discovered that seeds scattered near their camps grew into edible plants. Wild wheat and barley became reliable food sources. Over generations, humans began planting crops intentionally, learning the cycles of soil, water, and seasons. Permanent settlements formed, small villages at first, then larger and more complex. In these early farming communities, humans shaped the landscape, and the landscape shaped them. They domesticated animals, goats, sheep, cattle, creating new partnerships between humans and other species. Agriculture brought stability, but also required cooperation. Irrigation systems had to be built, fields had to be tended, food had to be stored. Slowly, human society grew organized, and with agriculture came population growth. Villages became towns, towns became cities. Social roles diversified. Some people became leaders, others became artisans, builders, traders, or storytellers. The seeds of civilization were sprouting. Around this time, humans developed one of their most powerful creations, writing. At first, writing was a practical tool. tallying harvests, tracking trade, recording laws. But soon it became something far more profound. Writing allowed humans to preserve ideas across generations. Knowledge no longer died with its keepers. For the first time, information became immortal. Civilizations rose in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China. Massive structures were built: pyramids, ziggurats, temples, walls. Humans created calendars, mathematics, astronomy. They crafted mythologies to explain the sun, the stars, the seasons, and the mysteries of life. Religion took root, shaping cultures and guiding societies. But progress came with challenges. As cities expanded, conflicts emerged. Resources were contested. Territory became valuable. Wars began. Organized, large-scale conflicts unlike anything in the ancient world. Power centralized into kingdoms and empires. Some rose to greatness, only to fall. Others endured for centuries. Yet, through it all, humanity continued to innovate. People navigated oceans and mapped continents. They forged iron and built roads. They composed music, poetry, and philosophy. They developed systems of law, government, and trade. Each innovation built upon those before it, creating a chain of knowledge stretching back to the dawn of our species. And then, only a few centuries ago, an instant in evolutionary time, the Industrial Revolution ignited. Machines multiplied human power. Steam, coal, and electricity transformed cities. Technology surged forward. In mere generations, humanity changed more than in the previous 100,000 years. Today, humans stand in a world unrecognizable to our earliest ancestors. We harness the power of atoms. We explore the depths of the ocean and the reaches of space. We communicate across the planet in an instant. We cure diseases, engineer ecosystems, and shape the environment on a planetary scale. Yet the journey is far from over. The same curiosity that guided Homo erectus across continents still drives us today. The same creativity that painted ancient caves fuels our innovations. The same need for connection that bound early tribes together shapes our societies. 4 million years of evolution have led to this moment, our moment. We are the product of survival and imagination, of adaptation and ambition, of countless ancestors who walked, struggled, learned, and dreamed. Their journey lives in us, and the story of humanity is still being written.